Well, welcome to the Martus coffee break demo. We're going to give you a little overview of what you're going to experience here in Martus. Before I dive in, though, I do want to mention a few housekeeping items. First, I want to encourage you to maximize the viewing window here in On24 where Martus is currently being displayed so you can get the best viewing experience. And then for any questions, please use On24's Q&A feature. If we don't get to your question during the demo, our team is going to be sure to follow up afterwards. So with that said, let's dive into Martus. We're excited to show you how Martus is going to help your team streamline your budgeting, forecasting, and reporting to make the process faster and more collaborative. Martus, just to say this as well, is going to be quick to implement. It's designed to do bottom-up budgeting and make it easy for everyone to contribute to your overall organizational budget. So in today's demo, we're going to give you a brief overview of some of the different areas in Martus. And we're going to have some pre-built reports over here under our dashboard financials. We'll take a look at our report builder, some of the budget creations tools that we have in the planner section here, as well as some forecasting options. And then we'll also take a look at personnel budgeting towards the end. Now, one thing I do want to preface before I start is that I'm going to be demoing today as an admin user, which means that I have access to see and do everything here inside of Martus. However, for those non-admin users where you don't want them to see and do everything in Martus, we're able to configure their permissions so that they only see the data and the modules that they've been given access to. So just as a quick example here, I'm going to come over here to my setup in users. And let's take a look at Ed. So Ed is a non-admin user. You're going to see on the permissions here that he doesn't have all admin rights. We've limited him to some specific areas, our dashboard financials, not everything there, but a few of those items, our planner area, so he can review the budget creation for his areas and also create budgets, but he doesn't get personnel budgeting or certain other features. Besides those permissions, we also have dimension restrictions. So think of dimensions as, the segments, the sub-accounts, things like that, classes that your accounting system would have. I have 3 dimensions configured in my system today. I've got location, department, and project. We can have more than that. But in Ed's case here, we're going to look at the locations, and you can see I'm going to restrict him to just the general location. I'm going to further restrict them to a couple specific departments. So again, when he logs in fact, I'm going to show you this really quick. His view is going to be different from our admin view. You're going to see this is Ed now. I'm logged in as Ed. I've just got a few of those menu options, and any reports that I would look at as Ed would be restricted to those specific areas. Notice I don't see all the other departments or locations. So my reporting, my budgeting is specific here for Ed to those areas. Okay, having said that, again, we're an admin user over here now, and I'm going to go to my dashboard financials. We've got several different pre-built reports, a lot of flexibility built into them. Flexibility meaning you can, of course, slice and dice the data using these different filters, in my case, location, departments, projects. So anytime I apply those filters, the data is going to, of course, update on my screen. But other flexibility options beyond that, if we go to like our income statement here, I can also modify the rows and I can modify columns to put them in different views. To give you an example here, maybe I want to see departments on my rows. We're going to load that, and you'll see now I've got a summary of my departments of what that looks like on the income statement. And if I wanted to, I could say, well, let me expand that by my different locations. We'll load there, and you can see now I've got departments expanded by location. So kind of a quick pivot, if you will, related to rows, columns. You can also do other time periods. If I just want to see the current month and year to date, not all months like we were showing before, right? That's what we're seeing here. I'm going to go back to the account view, point out a few other things here. And with the accounts, we're going to see the amounts now in blue. And anything that's in Martus that's blue is going to be drillable. So for instance, if I drill into, let's say, our office supplies, it's going to pull in that transaction detail from our accounting system, and I can see, those specific dates, memos, if there's a vendor associated with it, things like that. So this kind of serves as a internal GL detail report inside of Martus that we can see those additional details on the transactions. All right. So a couple of things I'll point out. You can export reports to Excel, to PDF. You can also email them from Martus. You can save reports or set default views. And so instead of maybe putting different views, up with your different filters and columns and rows, you could save those, and then next time it's a click of a button to get to that same report. All right, so again, there's some pre-built reports ready to go out of the box here. There's also a custom report builder. So even though we have a lot of flexibility in those reports, if you want to build other custom reports, you can do that as well. We've got some templates to start with. You can build your own as well. I'm going to click into my AI assistant report here because this was actually created with a prompt. It's not finished, obviously, but when I go into edit mode here, you can see where I can edit this. In fact, I need to probably create my new one to get my AI assistant, because this actually wasn't created by me originally. So let me do something a little bit different here. I'll give you a couple other options too, right? This is just, you can build other charts and KPI cards, other formatting on the reports, drill down into those transactions as well. So lots of options, put notes on there. But let me show you something really quick on a report builder. I'm going to add new, and we're just going to say coffee break demo. And you're going to see at the top right, a report builder assistant. So we've got an AI assistant here that actually allows you to type in using natural language, a report. So we've got some examples here that you can start with as well. Type in whatever you wanted to create there, hit generate, and it goes out to AI. It's, starts building the report, does not send any of your company's information to that. Just as far as the report is concerned, it's getting the report built for us using AI. So you can see I've got my actuals this year, prior year, 2 years ago, and then expanded by the dimensions on the rows based upon that prompt. So lots of cool features here, even with our custom report builder, to further get other reports that you might need. All right, so let me go on to the planner section now. Planner section is where we are building budgets in Martus, or maybe creating some new forecasts. And I'm going to start us on the planner summary report. You're going to see lots of the same flexibility over here as well. Again, filter it down using your different dimensions, rows, different views, columns as well in different views. But what I want to talk about here is this is our overall budget, right? It's consolidated for us. When I drill into any of these accounts here, it's going to go down and show me the different budget worksheets where someone's budgeted some office supplies. So Martus has a very collaborative environment, and the way that we use that collaboration for budget purposes is through these worksheets and through user permissions. And the idea here is, as people are working inside of Martus, based on their permissions, whatever departments they have access to, right, they're going to be creating those budgets, and Martus is going to take all of their work across all of these different areas and consolidate that in real time into one overall budget, so that you can see everybody's work coming together in real time, and then the effect, of course, on the bottom line of that budget. So no more passing, spreadsheets back and forth and wondering, do I have the right version, right? Everybody's work is happening in real time in Martus, and that consolidation is automated for us as well. All right, well, there's going to be some other pre-built reports with different views you can use, side-by-side comparisons if you do different versions, scenarios, want to see them across years, right? Some great reports for things like that. But let's talk about how we budget. So I'm going to come over here to my worksheets. And these worksheets can be auto-created, based on an existing budget you might have in your accounting system. You can create them based on, loading actuals, doing a new reforecast through the year and bringing in actuals to this. And those worksheets automatically get created. And then for the one-offs, you can add your own worksheets as well. But these worksheets are where people would access their budgets to edit those and update them. Before we go into one, notice over here to the right, owners and approvers. So what's going to happen is when someone submits their budget worksheet, it's going to lock it down. It will send an email to whoever the approver is. And you can see I have more than one approver here at different levels. And then they come into Martus and, they'll review the worksheet, and then they can leave comments on that worksheet back to the user as well. So if they were to approve it or deny it, they'd leave their comments and move it forward in the process accordingly. All right, so let's go into one of these worksheets, talk about how we actually update a budget here. So I'm going into my location 100, department 200 worksheet, and you're going to see I've got my budget lines here, and I've also got a project tag. Now, again, depending upon your accounting system and the configuration you might have in Martus, it might look a little bit different, but this is the main structure for the budget worksheet. Now, I can also view reference data. So if I click this little box up here, we're going to expand this and show some additional reference data. And this is showing me right now my 25 actuals plus remaining budget. So my actuals are in blue. I can drill in to see the details, right? Those transaction details. I got a budget for the last 3 months. The idea with the reference section is to be able to use that to help us create that budget for next year. So in this case, I'm working on my 2026 budget. Now I could actually load this in, have the system loaded in for us so it pre-populates down here when we come into the worksheets, and then we just make adjustments. Or if you do more of a zero-based budgeting approach, right, you'd have budget lines in here maybe, and then they're all zeroed out. It's kind of similar to mine, how most of mine are right now as well. All right, but how do we actually update this? There's a few different ways. I can click into the line, it opens it up, and then type in some amounts, right? Tab through and hit enter and save it. That's one way. Not the most common way, but you can certainly do that. Another way here is you can use this little budget widget, little calculator icon. And a lot of our users like this because it gives them some quick adjustments to do different spreads or calculations for that budget line. So if I'm working on office supplies, maybe I want to do a monthly spread. Say it's $100 a month for this area. We'll preview that, and you see it makes that monthly spread. Now I could do it as a weekly spread, right? So $100 a week, we preview. You see 4 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, based upon the starting date I have there. So other spreads, right? Biweekly, quarterly, annual. If I was to want to spread, $10,000 evenly across the year, it'll do that pretty quick for us. You can do other custom spreads. So think of, certain days of the month, working days of the month, those items. Adjustments by percentages. I'm not going to go through all of these right now, but there's quite a bit of options here to have the system do some auto calculating for us. What I like about the copy existing values is maybe I want to take my 12-month trailing actuals. You can see that. That's what would come in from your accounting system. And then apply a percentage increase or decrease. So maybe next year, let's take this and increase it by 5%. So I'd do a 105, hit preview, and you'll see that 3,200 becomes 3,360. And if there is any seasonality, kind of like mine has here, it would capture that seasonality with that percentage adjustment. All right, notes is also pretty cool. So type in my notes here for the kind of some supporting comments related to this budget line. So if someone's reviewing this, they know how I got to those numbers. And then I'm going to go ahead and save that. Now you'll see that gets updated on our worksheet here. And with that icon being blue, that's just telling us we have notes on the budget line. And as I hover over there, I can see those notes. All right. Now you can add more budget lines. Of course, update what's already there. And I do want to show you one other thing. We do have many customers who need to have more detail in the budget in different ways. So kind of like the support for software subscriptions. And so if I click this little icon, you'll see it's different. It's what we call a special purpose worksheet. So beyond just putting in notes on the budget line like we did there, I'm going to click into this line. And this gives me that special purpose worksheet, SPW, as we say for short. With the SPWs here, you can do different things. For instance, if I want to itemize this budget line by listing out different software subscriptions, I can do that. You can see they're all posting to my software account. And so down here below in summary, I've got the total aggregated for us that's going to post to that software budget line, right? So we're able to list out those additional details. Other things you're able to do, you might have other calculations, drivers in your budget. In this case, it's a very simple one where I have a rate, $13 per month, times a quantity, the number of users, and that gives me that total cost that's posting. So Lots of options for this, lots of scenarios where you might need to do different allocations with calculations and spread them across different departments. That'd be a use case for special purpose worksheets, or other drivers that would drive revenue or expenses. That's where the SPWs here would come into play. All right, so back on a worksheet, just to wrap this up, I can also upload attachments, any supporting documentation I want to put with this worksheet. And then when it's all ready to go, I'm finished with it, I would hit submit and lock. That's when it's going to lock this worksheet down, and it's going to send an email to whoever that approver is. They'll come into Martus, review the worksheet, the work that we've done, and then approve it or deny it with any comments back to that user. All right, so with that being said, all the work that we're doing here in the worksheet, again, it's going to be automatically consolidated into our overall budget where we started here. So lots of collaboration happening in real time, eliminating those errors from, sometimes Excel prone, the Excel worksheets, right, where there's lots of errors and version control issues there. All right, forecasting options. Got a couple different options to forecast. Just at a high level here, I'm going to show you under planner setup how you can have different versions and different forecasts where you might load actuals, for the first 9 months and then project the remaining 3 months. That's simply taking a budget and then loading actuals into it. The worksheets will be just the same as we saw before, other than the actuals we loaded into the worksheet lines. Those would get locked down or frozen to prevent changes to those, and the remaining months would be open in those worksheets. There's also a multi-year forecasting tool, as well as what if scenario planning with this. And I go back to, I think I got one in 2025 I prepped for this. Yeah. So up to, 10, 11, 12 years, I believe it is, you could do, or 12 different scenarios within the same one. So as an example, my best case, worst case funding scenario, I'm going to edit this. Think about this as kind of that high level, quick forecasting for those adjustments. I've got a best case at 10% increase in funding, or a worst case of 25% were to be decreased in our funding. And all we're doing here is we're selecting different budget areas, adjusting those by either a flat amount or percentage, and then seeing the results. And you can see based upon the different parameters I gave it for this scenario, I did it by department and account category. So high level of account groups. I've got my current budget that we base this on, the best case with a 10% funding increase. So that difference from this budget, you'll see that. And then my worst case with a 25% decrease in funding. Okay. And you do the same thing, of course, for the rest of the statement here. All right, well, moving on to personnel budgeting, this is where we're going to wrap up for today. I'm going to come over here to my personnel budgeting setup first and just mention a couple things. Employees can be uploaded, doesn't have to be, but you can upload employees if you want to. Pay types, these are the different ways that employees would be compensated. Salary, hourly, bonuses, insurance, stipends, other benefits, lots of options to create those. It's all user defined, tied to an account for budget purposes. And then those get associated with positions in different scenarios. And you can have one or more than one scenario. So you might start with a base scenario in personnel budgeting, kind of like where everybody's at now. From that, do a quick copy of it. And when you copy it, you'll be able to do adjustments, a 3.5%, 4% COLA adjustment. You might have other positions that you would want to budget for in a different scenario. So as many scenarios that you would like to have, you can create those here. And then I go to my scenarios page. We'll see in this scenario for 2025, my base personnel scenario, I've got all these positions and they're associated with these different employees. Now, inside of the position, I'm going to go into, let's do our controller here. We're tracking a few different things on these positions, and you'll see the ability to, of course, add the employee if necessary. It could be a vacant position as well. Different position types for reporting purposes to group, those positions by different types as you see here. And then I can also track FTEs. I can have start and end dates. So if someone's not going to be budgeted for the full year, just maybe a certain few months, they're seasonal, we're not going to hire until a certain date, this position, that's where I'd enter those start and end dates. Otherwise, left blank, it'll apply all 12 months to the budget. And then down below, we've got our different dimensions. Where should this position hit our budget? And this would be what I would call our default dimensions, because we can also allocate across different dimensions. So if our controller needed to be split across a couple different departments, we could do that as well in the allocations. I mentioned the pay types before. Again, those are the different ways that employees are compensated. They get added to positions. You can do that in the user interface here, or they could also be uploaded, and we have different payroll integrations available as well. When I click View Detail, though, let me show you this. It'll break this position down by pay type, right? And I can clear up some of these columns so I don't want to see all of the extra detail here. Let's do something like that. And then you'll see the total here for the year based upon those different pay types. And then all in, fully loaded for this position, it's 124, right? That includes salary, bonuses, retirement matches, taxes, other benefits. Once we get our scenario set up, we have several reports to look at, not just these, but also other reports that we might want to review and see in different ways as well. So I'm going to come over here to my allocation analysis and just kind of wrap it up here, where in, let's see, let me go to my 2026 one. Let's check this out really quick. All right, and you'll see I've got a few positions here in this scenario, and you'll see the total compensation, for these that I've got listed. I could also change my views and go into a dimensional view instead of an employee view, and see everybody here is rolled up to that specific department. And of course, you can filter by different departments and show it in different ways on the columns as well, maybe just FTEs or compensation amounts and so forth. So lots of different options in personnel budgeting. This will eventually get posted back to the overall budget. So when I come to my summary screen, when it does post back to the budget, it will go in summary by accounts and dimension. And I say that to say not all that employee level detail is going to show in the overall budget. Again, this is a permission-based area, so only those who have access to those details would see them here. All right. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the overview of our Martus coffee break demo today. If you would like a deeper dive into Martus, just click the link to request a demo. Again, thank you for joining us today, and hope that Martus can also streamline your budgeting and improve collaboration across your organization. Have a great day.